this isn't a big secret or anything, but my main channel is a channel called Boundary Break, where I take the game's camera out of bounds and I try to find all sorts of cool secrets and discoveries. But here, I try to talk about news or whatever's just like interesting to me. But I thought, you know what? Hey, I have this like huge back catalog of really cool stuff that I found over the years, and it'd be cool to be able to talk about it in like a really casual way for a video like this. And, you know, just another way to kind of bridge my old audience to maybe check out this new channel. So let's talk about some stuff that I thought was really, really cool and interesting over all the years that I was looking at games out of bounds. The first of which that I, of course, want to talk about, my hardcore fans probably have heard this ad nauseum, but it's still the coolest and most absurd discovery I've ever made for the show. This was completely undocumented on the internet. It's always possible, of course, that someone else has seen this before, but no one's ever brought it up on the internet before. It was the Sailor Moon manga in Punch-Out for the Nintendo Wii. Now, what makes this so unreal is the fact that Punch-Out is owned by Nintendo. That's their property. However, Sailor Moon is not owned by Nintendo. And the way the copyright works is that if you're going to put a character in from another company, you need express permission to do so. So for it to be in this game is very illegal. And it turned out that there was a whole backstory for this that the team over at Next Level Games had to deal with and have learned. I actually talked to the employee that put that Easter egg in the game. He got fired for it. And according to his own testimony, Nintendo preemptively paid out the company that owns Sailor Moon to have it in the game. However, they also removed the Easter egg from the Japanese version. So what I was just talking about just a moment ago was the US version, where you can see all the panels from a Sailor Moon manga, but in the Japanese version, they took the time to change that image, which again, so bizarre because you can't see this at all. It's completely faced away from the player, and there's no way to manipulate the camera. So it's like, why even have that in there to begin with? It's so crazy. But that is definitely the most bizarre one. The next one I want to talk about is, of course, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So with this particular game, you can go from different planets, and you're kind of doing a Metroidvania third-person sort of Dark Souls-like game. But what I never expected in my entire life is for the developers to acknowledge that themselves. See, the term Metroidvania comes from Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night, establishing this gameplay style where you're going around in a open environment, trying to get new abilities to get to other parts of this open environment. Now, with the third planet of Jedi Fallen Order, if you take the camera underneath the environment, you can find a dev-textured block of some sort. But what's way more interesting than that is that there's actually text that reads on it that says, Metroidvania test, stay calm. Metroid mentioned in a Star Wars video game. Again, you just don't expect to ever see that. I definitely had my mouth agape when I saw this for the first time. This next one is a bit self-serving, I will admit, but there's been cameos for Boundary Break in various games, and some of them are just, you know, a little more copyright free. You don't have to worry about me suing you. Not that I ever would anyway. I find it really, really cool to see Boundary Break referenced in video games. But the one that is like the most shocking is the game My Friendly Neighborhood. If you take the camera outside the boundaries in one of the rooms in that game, straight up the logo for my YouTube show is out of bounds. And I just, when I saw that, I just couldn't believe, it was like such a weird, bizarre feeling. You know, you make something and you don't feel as significant as the things you're talking about. I think that some YouTubers feel that way in general when we talk about media or video games. We feel like a less than form of entertainment. So to see like something that I created in a video game, it was such a bizarre thing to see. But it is a Easter egg that is stored out of bounds. Therefore, it is a thing that exists out of bounds in a video game that makes sense to put it in a video like this. I mean, again, you know, if anybody else wants to reference Boundary Break, you have my express permission as long as it's stored out of bounds. Just don't upload full episodes of the show out of bounds in your game. That would, I guess that would be okay. I mean, it'd be a little strange and probably a waste of resources, but you could do that. The next one is super recent, but I just did a Silent Hill 2 remake episode. Lots of fans of Boundary Break loved the original Silent Hill 2 episode, so naturally I had to get on top of the Silent Hill 2 remake episode as quickly as possible. And as a result, I found a really cool out of bounds discovery. It's a reference to something that the fans of Silent Hill really hated. It was a ranch sign that's like at the very start of the game. In the original Silent Hill 2, it has its own original Silent Hill font, but then they did a HD version for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And amongst many complaints that some of those fans had, one of the ones that's the most visually striking is that the Silent Hill Ranch sign was redone in Comic Sans. So fans hated that because people hate Comic Sans in general, and then on top of that, you're changing the textures for something that was already good to begin with. In the remake, what they did was they took the sign, the Comic Sans ranch sign, and stored it out of bounds inside the ranch. Now, the sign that you get to see as the player looks great. It looks fantastic. But again, as a nod to that story I just told you, inside of the ranch, there is an inaccessible Silent Hill Ranch sign, which is hilarious. I love that. Another thing that I was really surprised that the fans really loved, but for me, it felt like, logically speaking, of course it would be like this, but I guess it's just so visually striking that fans of the show really love it. It's the Cylinder World and Animal Crossing Wild World, as well as Animal Crossing New Horizons. So I'll have clips of both on the screen here, but when you pan the camera out, the game starts to reveal itself as a cylinder, not like a world or like a giant, like almost like eye lens, like a eye contact, basically a shape like that. Now, instead, like when you pan it out, you really do see that like it kind of like has like a paper towel sort of effect where it just kind of like has a nice tight cylinder. It's one of those things where when I saw it, I was not surprised, and so I just put it in the episode because it still looks kind of cool. But fans have, I guess, like thought it was like one of the most amazing things. I guess like I brought this one up because I was just a bit surprised by the fan reaction. The other one that I was also really surprised by was when fans saw Mute City in Mario Kart 8, and when you pan the camera out, just how much detail is loaded into that one map at any given time. That one was picked up by IGN, I think, of all things, which that was wild. They barely ever talked about the show. Now, like, you know, many other websites have, and that's why it's significant that like IGN actually picked up that story and talked about the Mute City image. They didn't link any episodes, sadly, but again, like they referenced the tweet and everything, and I thought that was super cool. But like, yeah, it was a really cool discovery just seeing like just how much there is to that one map. Like they really went all out for it. I don't know why. And the last one I want to talk about is Captain Falcon's Eye in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Super Smash Bros. Brawl has like all sorts of really cool stuff. Like, for example, I take that game to panels and stuff like that across the country. And every time I use that game for my panels, somebody finds something new. Like one of the most amazing ones that I did not think would be ever a thing was someone asked me to take the camera inside of Sonic Spinball, and if you take the camera inside of Sonic Spinball in Brawl, oh man, I'm rhyming here, you get like his fate, like the brow of Sonic the Hedgehog is stored inside of that ball, which I couldn't believe that. But the thing that is way more cool, in my opinion, is that if you take the camera inside of Captain Falcon's eyewear, you could see that he has an actual eye, which is theorized to have been originally meant for battle damage for the characters. There's some evidence for this with Meta Knight, I believe, as well, but it seems that it was scrapped early because most characters don't have any like hidden data showing that they have battle damage. But Captain Falcon is theorized to be one of those characters because you could see that he has an eye, and that was actually left in the game. So when you move the camera in, you could see that he has it. It's just on one side of his face, and that's part of the reason why it's theorized that it's battle damage, because it's not both eyes. One of the things that I thought was really cool too was that it's not just Captain Falcon's eye, it's actually Solid Snake's eye. So when you look at it up close, you can see that it's the exact same texture and exact same model as Solid Snake's eyes that were used in Super Smash Bros. Brawl as well. So I thought that was really, really cool too. So anyways, yeah, here's my third channel, Laxadaisy. Let's just kind of sit around the campfire and do kumbaya, talk about the golden days of Boundary Break and why this has been such a wild ride for me. Again, you know, there's lots and lots of stories that I think I could share about the show. There's one that I already actually shared. Yeah, so like Nintendo came after me one time about a particular episode, and you know, I kind of just used that video format to just theorize as to why that was. So if you want to check that one out, I'll leave a link to that too. But this was fun. I do need to remember once in a while to just like use this channel to regale about my far more successful channel. Again, like the thing with this channel is I'm trying to do something different, you know, something to kind of like excite me. You know, I'm still happy to do Boundary Break episodes, but you know how it is, guys. Like, you want to like move on to the next thing in life and do something like that'll kind of like bring new life into you. We all get that once in a while, and this is what this channel is. It's just to be able to kind of like talk about something I'm actually passionate about, which is video game news as well. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be about news, but for me, again, it's just about being able to express my opinions on things that are going on in the game industry. And honestly, like, I'm kind of happy with how things are turning out. I appreciate you guys all watching. I can see the viewership slowly rising. So to all of you that keep coming back, thank you. You're awesome. And if you're new here, you know, just hit subscribe. We're getting close to 10,000 subscribers. It would be really cool to get there. And yeah, man, I rambled like crazy with this one. I hope you don't mind. All right. Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and take care.